Let's bring in Joe Siracusa, a political analyst and professor of global futures, joining us from Melbourne, Australia. Hi there, Prof. So Donald Trump's first overseas tour of the second presidency was to the Middle East and now to Asia. What's the president's goal here?
Hello, Yasha. Well, look, his goal is to have a look around. He wants to deal with these people. You know, when this president goes overseas, it's like P.T. Barnum's circus going somewhere. You know, the greatest show on earth. They want to have a look at him. He wants to have a look at them. The store is open. He's ready to do business on defense, security, and tariffs and sanctions. He'd like to get as much help against the Russians as possible. That is to bring the war to a close and that kind of thing. So, you know, he's just kind of open for business. He's also a lame duck president. That is, he only has about less than 3 years to go, and they know that. And so they're looking at him very, very carefully. And he's dealing with nations that have dealt with China for 1,000 years. You know, the story is they don't have to choose between Washington and Beijing. Well, if they don't, they certainly have to play a very cool game. And, you know, the Japanese, they got a lot of clout. You know, they don't need the U.S. Air Force to rescue them. What they want Trump to do is to guarantee to provide security that other nations will not use nuclear weapons against them. But, you know, the Japanese have been playing the American presidents, the last couple of them, like an old fiddle, Yash. I mean, they get what they want out of them. And all Trump wants is get them to buy Ford motor trucks. I mean, it's really quite amusing.
Okay, so then a bit of a win for the Japanese if this new prime minister can continue to stay on Trump's good side. But on Thursday, there's also this highly anticipated meeting between Trump and Xi Jinping, with the framework of a potential deal apparently being agreed upon. How important is that meeting, though, going to be for both countries who are really at odds right now, but then also for global trade as a whole?
Well, now I'm going to put on my stockbroker's hat. Once upon a time, I used to work on Wall Street for Merrill Lynch. And this idea of economic certainty will bring a great deal of stability and calmness to the markets, both in Asia and the United States. The problem with the Chinese-American economic relationship began with Trump. He started waging this tariff war, which doesn't work. Tariffs, yes, are like sanctions. You know, they don't work very well, and they poison the atmosphere. And so, in many ways, Trump is trying to undo all the things that he's tried to impose on the Chinese, first in his first administration and this one. What he wants out of them is rare earths. That is, he wants to keep certain critical minerals flowing to the United States as part of the supply chain. And, you know, one of the things I got a kick out of is he wants the Chinese to live up to their bargain to buy soybeans from the United States. You know, the Secretary of the Treasury actually owns a very large soybean farm. So, you know, he's sort of taking care of himself. But look, Trump's going to try to undo the damage he's done. And Xi knows this, too. And of course, there are various groups in China and the United States. I'm just call them war parties, people who make their fame and fortune by arguing that the United States and China are headed for a war. They're not headed for a war. They're never going to have a war over Taiwan. That was settled by Richard Nixon in 1972. They might have a war over freedom of passage in the South China Sea and something like this. But it's important for these kinds of comings together to make sure that the economic competition between them remains a friendly competition. You know, as soon as it becomes something else, that is, it becomes sort of a preparation for war, then you got something else again. But aside from, if you factor out, let's say, the Russian nuclear missiles, the Chinese-American relationship is the most important economic relationship on the planet Earth because everybody sort of riffs off of it. So as long as they're humming along, everybody else will hum along, and they're doing pretty well. And I understand from what I saw the markets this morning that there are record highs in Asia and in the United States in anticipation of this meeting. And, you know, the market abhors uncertainty. And if the president of America and the president of China can sit down and say, look, let's do business together again without hitting each other over the head, I think that will calm a lot of people. It isn't going to solve a lot of problems, but it will solve. It'll calm the markets down, and that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll certainly be keeping a close eye in the coming days on that meeting. Professor Siracusa, always good to get your take. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.